reduced calorie diet. Thought that was very interesting. And so let's talk about some terms now. This is the part of the lecture where I'm going to get a little bit detailed. I'm going to take some water before I do that. Science is very complicated, and we're at the infancy stages of obesity research, in my opinion. But I'm going to go over some terms, and hopefully I won't lose you. I'll try to scale it down as much as I can without butchering physiology. First term we need to talk about, and I'm sure a lot of diabetics know, is insulin. Insulin basically is a storage hormone that is produced in the pancreas, and it ushers glucose into the body's cells for energy production. What a lot of people don't know, though, is it also ushers proteins into the cells as well, for a big fancy word for protein synthesis or muscle growth. So many or authorities say that insulin is an anabolic hormone, storage hormone that builds up. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. Chronic consumption of carbohydrates, in particular refined sugars and carbs, can increase the production of insulin to what we call pathological levels, especially to that apple-shaped person we talked about, which in turn may cause a cascade of negative consequences in the body. One of them being high blood pressure, another one being increased triglycerides or fat in your blood, heart disease, and of course obesity, in particular central adiposity or fat in the midsection. Also prediabetes and diabetes as well. The list goes on and on. So another term that I didn't really hear too much about until the early 2000s was silent inflammation. I did a couple of shows with Dr. Barry Sears, the author of The Zone Diet, and he had a good explanation of it. And, obviously there are two, not obviously, but there are two types of inflammation. First type is the one that hurts. My shoulder's in pain. I went to the doctor, he says you got bursitis, you got inflammation in there. So they take the necessary course of action for that. That's, perceivable. I can feel it. It hurts. The second type of inflammation is called silent inflammation, and it's below the perception of pain, and it can linger for months, years, some people think even decades, which can basically have negative consequences. Again, it can attack heart, brain, immune system, and even cause cancer. So silent inflammation is bad. Some people believe it can obviously cause a lot of other chronic diseases as well as obesity. So inflammation and obesity is the sort of the theme here for the rest of this lecture. Okay, it's not new. It's not something that's I'm sure some people have heard about it. But according to Dr. Sears, author of Toxic Fat, not to say that he's the end-all be-all, but I like this quote: as silent inflammation increases, it begins to disrupt hormonal signaling patterns, especially those that control hunger, and how fat is released for energy. And one of those hunger hormones can be leptin. I'm not going to get into detail about that, but there's a lot of other ones too. Turns out that when you, not to go off the track, but it turns out that when you have a gastric bypass surgery, yes, your stomach shrinks, or you can't eat as much food, but your ghrelin levels, which is a hormone that actually controls hunger, that goes down. So you're not hungry as much. So it affects your a certain hormone as well, and maybe other ones that I'm not aware of. But the diet presented here today, I'm going to go over a diet, a sample diet, is designed to discourage this silent inflammation and promote fat loss. One of the ways to determine, because people might be asking, how do I know if I have silent inflammation if it's not perceivable? One of the ways is Dr. Sears has a way as well, but it's a little complicated for this show. The other way is it's a little bit easier to access as well. Is ask your primary care physician next time you're there. I wouldn't say go out of your way and say don't mention me, but measure your CRP levels, and that's basically your C-reactive protein, which is a marker for inflammation in the body. You want to ask for a excuse me, a high sensitivity CRP blood test. That's what you want to request. Some people think that's more important, a more important risk factor. By the way, it should be below 3. That number, I'm sorry, I don't have the units, but it should be below 3, that number. Let's move on to low glycemic diet. You hear a lot about that these days. What is the glycemic index? I'm not going to go over the glycemic load, but basically the glycemic index measures how much a 50-gram portion of carbohydrates raises a person's blood sugar levels compared with a control like white bread or just pure glucose. Now, that might have put people in a headspin here. What that means simply is after consuming a carbohydrate, the faster it gets released from the small intestines and into the bloodstream, the greater the spike of insulin, which is bad. The slower it gets released, and it's even worse for the Apple person. The slower it gets released, the lesser the insulin spike, which is good. Basically, this translates to curbing your hunger when you have a low glycemic food, and you're less likely to overeat. Now, certain foods you don't eat by themselves. If you have